Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew Heineke, and welcome to Maximyz Talks. Today, we're speaking with Katie Ervin. She's the Associate VP of Strategic Alliances at Park University. She's passionate about lifelong learning and working with organizations to invest in their people and professional development. She helps organizations understand the importance of investing in their people's happiness at work. So welcome, Katie. We're happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So my first question is just kind of an icebreaker, but could you tell us something about yourself that's maybe something different, something interesting or unique that nobody might normally know about you?
Yeah, well, and I will say career-wise, it's really interesting. My background is this neat hodgepodge that has brought me to where I am today. So I did 14 years of corporate HR before I moved over to higher ed. And being in higher ed administration, a lot of people think that I, am working on the traditional education side. And while I'm passionate about that, I'm fortunate to be able to use so much more of my HR skills. And so I deal a lot with people and relationships and engagement and how do we all work together and bring our communities together. So I'm able to really mesh those two together, which is nice.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm sure it's interesting coming from, like you said, the corporate world to the educational world. What have you found have been the main differences between the two areas?
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things that I get to do is really bridge the differences. So much we hear people say, "Oh, well, you don't need a college degree," or college is so expensive, and it is. And I will say education is continuing to work on that. That is a never-ending discussion of how we, increase value and decrease cost and things like that. And the uniqueness that I get to do is say, when I was a corporate HR leader, here's the gaps that I always found in my employees. And so we really need to make sure as a higher ed learning institution that we're really helping fill those gaps. And to the point, I'm currently building a certificate for students that is bringing those life skills. Everyone calls them something different, whether it's leadership skills, foundation skills, but it's all the same. Like, how do we, deal with resilience and grit and time management? And you learn those things in a liberal arts education. We just don't always have the skills to explain it. And so a quick example, I have a almost done freshman in college. He's finishing up this week. And during finals week, he's so stressed out. And he's like, "Mom, my English professor added another paper and there's all this craziness." And I said, not only are you learning English and math and history, but you're learning these skills that are critical in life. You're learning time management. You're learning how to have conversations with your professors. "Look, I'm struggling and I need help, and here's how to ask for help." And so you're learning these critical skills. We just don't always know how to have those conversations. And Park and other universities are starting to really have those conversations with the corporate world of how do we express the skills that we're learning.
No, I think that's really cool. That's great. I always thought that it would be good even at the younger ages, at a very early age in the elementary schools, if they started teaching some of these, people skills or life skills, like you say, where, learning to communicate better with each other, learning to deal with your emotions better. I think it goes a long way in terms of education, because you're right. Those are not really skills that they teach normally. And even as a parent, you may not have the skills to know how to teach that as well. So that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. And I will say that is one of my passions. Before I came to Park, it's always been my passion. And so my ultimate dream is to have a leadership institute that's age and stage appropriate. So we're talking about the same 9 skills in middle school, high school, college, all the way up to retirement. And we're having the different conversations, but with my 17-year-old daughter, I'm able to talk about, this is a conflict. How do we deal with conflict? And even, when they have disagreements, and she's like, oh, I'm so mad at so and so. Well, it's actually unkind for you to tell that to me and not tell it to her. And so you need to go to her and have a conversation. I know you didn't intend it this way, but it hurt my feelings. And so can we talk about that? And it's really cool to see these teenage girls have these conversations and what valuable skills they will have. So there's not that girl drama. There's this very adult skill development of, hey, let's talk through this as adults. And I think if we can start that conversation early, the world will just be a better place.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I think, yeah, you'll have less crime, less less poverty. Just having those skills, even for myself, learning. The more I learn, the more happy I am, and the better my relationships are, and the more my businesses grow. And so, yeah, I totally agree. And I agree about, I think seeing my children. My daughter is 18 as well, and yeah, she is way, way more mature than I ever was at that age. So it's cool to see how they're talking and they're doing things like meditating and mindfulness and all of that. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I love that.
So how do you think, in your job with the university, what are some of the ways that you're trying to incorporate this?
Yeah, so there's actually two ways that I'm really trying to carry this mission forward. One is internally, at Park. I have told people since day one, like, I'm here to listen to you. Come complain to me. I love complaints, because when you complain, we know what the problem is and we can work to fix it. And that really comes from my HR world. I was the HR director for a luxury hotel here in Kansas City. And we really celebrated customer complaints, because we know if a customer has a problem and complains and we're able to fix it, the likelihood for them to return increases and for them to share their experiences. And I think we're so afraid to hear complaints that we don't welcome feedback. And so that's one of the things internally at Park that I really value, is those relationships and conversations. And so I have people across the network come to me and say, I know this isn't in your lane, but here's a problem. Can you help me kind of problem solve and work through it? And it helps me build relationships, but then it also helps look at the real root of the problem. Is it that we need to put training in it, or is it, something else, the real root of the problem? So I'm doing a lot of that internally at Park. And then the external, with my role of strategic alliances, is I work with organizations outside of Park to help them find educational and development opportunities for their people. And so I'm spending a lot of time with, community partners to say, what's that to-do list sitting next to your desk that you always want to get to that you can't because time and money is a challenge? And then working through with them, is that really the root of the problem? Is that really what you're trying to solve? And so I just worked with a community partner, and we've created a 6-month development program for their frontline supervisors. And it's these 9 skills. Like, we now affectionately call it the sushi list. And it's these 9 skills. And so we start working through the sushi list. What do you want to work on this week? And so I make sure that we're having the same conversations, whether it's internally or externally, about these 9 skills.
Yeah, that's really cool. I vote you for president. Because I really like what you said, that you said you love complaints. And I agree that, yeah, people are afraid to complain. They don't want to look like the complainer. And there's a difference between complaining and trying to solve a problem. But if you, as a business owner or as a leader, you don't know what the problem is, nobody ever tells you, then it will just get worse and worse and worse. So I really like that kind of philosophy.
Yeah. And, it's funny, I just finished a meeting and I said, we need to celebrate that people are, telling their problems out loud and not just sitting in their office. I told a faculty member a couple of years ago, they were very frustrated in a meeting and I could feel the frustration. And so I set up a private meeting with them and I said, there's history here that I don't know about. And I need to understand why you're so frustrated. And so she unloaded all that frustration. And I said, I can't apologize for something I wasn't involved with, but I can commit to you going forward that I will do all I can to work with you to move forward and be better. I said, but you have to commit to me that you're not going to live in the history and the frustration. Like, you have to let that go, because if you're going to sit around and just complain, then I can't do anything for you. But if you're committed to change, I'm all in. And the cool part is this faculty member now comes and shares with me all the time. Like, okay, here's the next problem. How are we going to solve it? And it's like, yes, we are making traction because they're not sitting in their offices complaining. They're talking about it in public. And that we should celebrate when people come to us with, here's what I need fixed.
No, I agree. We do a course on psychological safety, and I'm a big proponent of psychological safety, and where, just letting everybody feel like they have that voice, their voice can be heard. We're not going to judge you or criticize you for any of your opinions or your ideas. So
yeah. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about culture, and not particularly like corporate culture, but just cultural differences in the workplace. People working maybe from their different religious backgrounds or political backgrounds, or just coming from different countries or different races. And so what are your experiences with cultural differences in the workplace?
Yeah, and this is such an important topic, and it's not a new topic. I am energized that we're talking about it more because I think it's so critical. And as someone throughout my whole career have really prided myself, even, when I was in HR, it's not about the poster. Just because we have a poster that has all the colors and backgrounds and experiences, if we're not living that every day, if we're not elevating those voices, if we're not hearing the experiences, then it's just a poster. And it's actually more frustrating for people that we slap up a poster and say, look, we're inclusive, look at us. And our actions behind it don't show that. And so the coolest conversations I've been having lately are just around this topic. How do I, as an ally, always make sure that I'm better and paying attention to my biases and my blind spots, because we all have them, but come from a really positive place of wanting to learn and be better and grow, and that psychological safety, that environment where we can say, this may not come out right, it's coming from a good place, but help me understand. And I will say, I have so many good friends in my network that are willing to be that voice for me, but then more importantly, saying it is exhausting for them, insert label here, to be the spokesperson for that label. And so we say, oh, we have a person of color, so let's assume that they want to be the diversity officer. Let's assume that they're one person of color that they want to be, on the platform, and they want to be seen, and they want to be heard, and they want to be genuinely understood. But more importantly, we can't put all the pressure of their, background, culture, country, life. We can't put that weight on them. And that's the thing that I think I have learned so much in the last 18 months is with their grace saying to me, we love you for coming to us and wanting to hear our voice, but we also cannot always be the poster for it. And so we need allies and others to make it safe to do that. And it's been a journey for someone who's always been very proud to say, I want to hear every voice, to know that there's more that I should have, could have, and in the future will always do. And that has great value.
Hmm. No, that's really interesting. My wife, she's from East Africa, but she's spent a lot of years growing up in Switzerland. So as a person of color, being around, predominantly white society, she ran into this, she was accepted, and I think there's a lot less racism in Europe than there is in the US. They don't really feel it like we do, but she did feel like somewhat like an outsider, of course. And her, what she kind of says is, as outsiders, wherever you're an outsider, it's, you always feeling like you have to push to get in. You're trying so hard to get in all the time, but it's less work if the insiders bring you in, right? Because I'm one person trying to reach out to many, but if there's many people trying to reach out to one, it makes it so much easier. So I thought that was an interesting insight from her.
Yeah, that's it. That is such a good point. And just to put an exclamation on that, I was having lunch this past week with a good friend, and he said to me, as a Black man, he said, Katie, when we look at a elementary school playground, if all of the white kids were playing on the equipment and all of the children of color were sitting on the benches not playing, we would say, come on, get together, let's play, get the kickball, come on, let's do this. But once we shift to the corporate world, we don't do that anymore. And why don't we? And more importantly, you're right, as the majority in the room, as the white people in the room, we need to be more inclusive and invite in. And I will tell you, I hear his voice all the time, because I was creating a leadership panel before the pandemic started, and I was so proud of the panel, and I was sharing it with him, and he said, where's your Black people? And I was like, because we get so comfortable going within our network.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to, one, be uncomfortable and put ourselves into situations where we're the minorities. And so now when I walk into a room, I look at the table and say, where can I get different voice? Where can I hear about different experiences? I'm not going to sit at a table with people like me because that's comfortable. I'm going to step out of my box and engage. But then more importantly, when we're looking at meetings or conversations, or, even when we're planning workshops and conferences, do we have all voices heard? Are we going outside of our network and making ourselves uncomfortable to ask people that are different than us to have the conversation? That has great value.
No, I agree, because not only is it the right thing to do, but as a human, but it's also, the more diverse people you have, the more diverse ideas you get. And so you have a better chance of coming up with a new and innovative idea. And you also have a better chance of seeing all those different possible roadblocks or risks out there. And that could, prevent you from wasting time and money making mistakes. So another thing I was just thinking about is, when we take our kids to the playground, we're always pushing them. Hey, go play with those other kids. Go play with those other kids. And I was thinking that what if someone did that to me? Hey, go talk to this. Go play with these people that you never met before. I would feel uncomfortable. And so now I realize, no, I should be telling my kids, hey, invite those kids to come play with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even to the point of, it's okay to be a little awkward at the beginning. If there's positive intent behind it, most people are going to see that. And, it's a good thing.
Well, thank you, Katie. This has been a really great talk. I'm glad that we met. Do you have any final thoughts or advice that you would give others out there?
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. And I would say, the biggest piece of advice I would give is, we always say be kind, but really being kind means being authentic and being transparent, and sometimes having those difficult conversations from a very positive place. That is true kindness. And when we open ourselves up to other people, it allows us to have deeper relationships and deeper understanding, and opens us up to other experiences. So not just be kind, but really open yourself up to that.
That's right. Yeah, take that extra step, push yourself just to get out of your comfort zone, like you said, and try to reach out. Well, thank you again very much, Katie. That was Katie Ervin, Associate VP in Strategic Alliances at Park University.
Thank you.